Well up, hello, my name is Cree. I'm a poet, rapper and storyteller, and today this is a video about writing an ode poem. You're going to need your pen, your paper, and remember to pause the video in between each exercise to give you a little bit of time to crack on and do your writing. Alright, so let's get going. So what's an ode poem? An ode poem is like your very own tribute to something you feel really passionate about. There's been many odes written over the years, some really famous ones, often about places, sometimes about people, sometimes about objects. But this is going to give us a little bit of a chance to explore something a little bit different. This is the third video. So the first one was all about creating a narrative poem around an object, and then the second one was our list poem. So this just gives us a different perspective and allows us to maybe jump out of our own heads a little bit and focus on something in the external world, but still drawing on your own experiences, ideas and influences, which is what I like doing. So the first thing we're going to do is our warm-up exercise. So pens at the ready, loosen up your arms a little bit as we're going to get stuck in with our first exercise. Here we go. Okay, so the first exercise, I want you very simply, just in a list on your page, to write down 5 letters. Alright, so A, and then underneath B, underneath C, underneath D, and underneath E. Okay, so you should have a nice column, A to E, 5 letters. Now, for each letter, I want you to come up with a country, a famous person, and a food that starts with that particular letter. Now with the famous person, they can be dead or alive, and the food might be a dish, or it might just simply be a vegetable. That's totally fine. All right, so let's take 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, it's a good thing to get your brains ready, and then I'm going to give you a quick little example. So for A, I've got Albania, Ariana Grande and almonds. Okay, so that's my country, famous person and type of food. All right, so you've got A to E, 3 things for each letter. Off you go. All right, how'd you get on? So I got mine here, and so for A, I had Algeria, Alan Shearer and apples, and then B, Bulgaria, Benedict Cumberbatch and biryani, all right, which is my favorite dish, or one of them. C was Colombia, Christina Aguilera and cucumber. D, Denmark, Dame Judi Dench. It's a little bit controversial, but Dame is a title maybe, and Doll. And then E for England, Ewan McGregor and Edam. E was quite tricky. How did you get on? All right, so hopefully you're feeling nice and warmed up, ready to go into our first exercise, which follows on from our little warm-up there. So what I want you to do now, you're going to write about, tell me what your favorite place is, who your favorite famous person is, and what your favorite food is. Now, for favorite place, so in the first exercise, the warm-up, it was country. Okay, but favorite place doesn't necessarily have to be a country. It could be a particular chair at your school or somewhere like that. It might be your local park. It might be a particular resort in Spain or something like that. So you're going to tell me what your favorite place is. You're going to tell me who your favorite famous person is, dead or alive. And again, that might be a sportsman, that might be a music singer, it might be a historian or a political activist. Right, as long as they're relatively well known, that's fine. And then you're going to tell me what your favorite food is. And again, that could be a dish, or it might just simply be a carrot. Who knows? All right, so off you go. Okay, so hopefully you got your 3 things there. So I'll tell you what I wrote down, because I did this earlier on, like Blue Peter. So my favorite place, I put under the duvet. My favorite food was a crisp sandwich. It was a difficult choice, a tough choice. Could have had the biryani, but crisp sandwich won. And favourite famous person, Neil Harris, who I'm sure you've all heard of. He's Millwall's all-time top scorer, and until about 6 months ago was their manager. Legend. Okay, so what I want you to do now, for each one you've just written, so your favourite famous person, favourite place, favourite food, I just want you to write a few words to describe them. So you might want to write a few sentences, or you can just simply write down words to describe each one of those, okay? Off you go. All right, cool. So hopefully you've got a bit of description. So for mine here, under the duvet, I've written warm, cozy, fluffy, safe. So there were some words that immediately came to mind when I was thinking about myself being under the duvet. For my favourite food, which was the legendary crisp sandwich, I've written crunchy, satisfying. But then I went into a bit more description, as this is what popped into my head. So I've been quite specific here. 2 layers of brown bread, evenly cut, margarine, ham and grated cheddar cheese with a bit of mayonnaise, and on top the delicious crunch of some thick cut real McCoy cheese and onion crisps. So there you go, that's my description for my crisp sandwich. And then of course Neil Harris, short in size and pace, huge in stature, great at finding space, a fox in the box, clinical finisher, all-time top scorer, record breaker, survivor, successful manager. So these are all words and phrases that came into my mind when I was thinking about Neil Harris. All right, okay, so we're going to move on to our next exercise now. Ready? Okay, so hopefully you've got a few words of description about those 3 things that you've selected there. So now what we're going to do, you're going to write a memory associated with each one. It only needs to be a few lines, and you can take a few extra minutes to think about this one. So ideally your favourite memory, but if you don't have a favourite memory, maybe it's the first memory that jumps to mind, or any memory in particular. All right, so you can take a few moments, think about where you were, what you were doing, how old were you at the time, was anyone else there? So I'm going to tell you what mine were. So for my under the duvet memory, I've put, it's a Saturday morning. I don't have to get up. It's raining outside. I'm warm and comfortable. There's nowhere else I want to be. So that was the first thing that jumped to mind. That's not a specific memory. So I haven't talked about an age or a date. That's a general feeling and a general memory that I have when I particularly think about being under the duvet. And it's something that I've experienced quite a few times over and over again. And it's always amazing. For my parents, not my parents, that's just what I've written here. For the crisp sandwich, I've written, so I was at my parents' house. I didn't have a job at the time. I didn't have much money. So things were a bit tough. But that half an hour or so that I spent making, eating, and then enjoying the crisp sandwich was a real special memory for me. So I went through a phase quite a long time ago now of eating crisp sandwiches every day, and I really enjoyed it. So that was quite a specific memory of a particular time in my life. And Neil Harris, the football player, Millwall manager, all-time top scorer. Again, I've been even more specific. So I've put 2001 season when Millwall won the league. Neil Harris is top scorer of the whole league. We're playing Bury. I'm in the stand behind the goal, the south stand, with my older brother Nat. And Neil Harris goes one-on-one with the keeper and chips it over his head into the back of the net. So that's a very specific memory of a very particular date and time, which I remember really well. So now it's your turn. So take a few minutes for this one, have a think, and see if you can write down, be as descriptive as you can. Think about where you were, what you were doing, maybe what you were wearing, what could you hear, see, smell at the time, and then write down for those 3, okay? Off you go. Okay, so for the last part in this section here, and this one's a little bit more tricky, and we touched on it in the video before when writing the list poem. I want you to go through each of the 3 that you've done, and I want you to write a couple of lines and sentences about how each one makes you feel. So I mentioned before, I find writing about feeling and emotion quite tricky because it's abstract. It's not like a physical object thing. So I try and use as much simile and metaphor, things that I can compare those feelings to real life things, real life scenarios, always drawing on my knowledge. So I've written a few things here. However, I kept it quite simple. I was trying to be specific as I could with these feelings. And when I go to talk about later on in an actual poem, I can use some of those comparisons, metaphors, similes to really draw these feelings out. But I was quite quick here. So under the duvet, I've got warm, relaxed, comfortable, safe. So those are all things that I'm feeling at the time when I'm in the bed under the duvet. It's Saturday morning and the drizzling rain is outside, and I feel so great just thinking about it. And crisp sandwich, I've put joyous, hungry, just thinking about it makes me hungry, satisfied, and rebellious. All right, these are all things that I think about how I feel when I'm thinking about eating a crisp sandwich. Rebellious in particular, because I guess, I don't know, there's probably rules to making sandwiches and you're probably not supposed to put crisps in them, but it's just so good. So, you know, putting the crisps in a sandwich. Anyway, and then Neil Harris, middle striker, I put proud, thrilled, and inspired. So I've just used words there, but you can write a few sentences if you like, and then maybe use some of that comparison and description. All right, off you go. Hey, so now the tricky part. We're going to have a go at writing your ode. So you've picked and gone into a fair bit of detail on 3 things. So a place, a famous person, and a type of food. And hopefully all of those 3 things, or at least a couple of them, have evoked some memories and some images in your head that you can draw on when writing your ode poem. And so basically in your ode, you're just going to make a tribute to one of those things. But the first part now, you've got to pick one of those 3 things that you're going to write about, which may be really difficult. So for me, it was really hard. I could write odes for all 3 of them. However, in this particular instance, I've gone for Neil Harris, and I'm going to write my ode about Neil Harris Mills' all-time top scorer. So I'm going to try and use as much of those memories where in particular I talked about being in the stand and watching him one-on-one with the goalkeeper and chipping the ball. These are all things that I'm probably going to draw on when writing the actual poem, and then thinking about the previous videos, all of those comparisons, metaphors, similes, using my own knowledge, background, school, football, etc, etc. All right, so give it a go. This can be quite short. It doesn't have to be super long, but see if you can get to the end, right? And think about those feelings that are evoked when, or hopefully evoked when you're thinking about one of your favorite things here. All right, off you go. Cool. So hopefully you've got to the end, first draft of your ode poem now. So like the other videos, just want you to go back, read it 2 or 3 times, keep a pen handy, make any corrections if you so wish. How does it sound? How does it look on the page? Are there any words that you want to change? This is going to be a very brief edit. Again, the next video is about editing, and if you so wish and you choose this poem, we're going to go into a deeper edit. But you take a moment here, so read it through 2 or 3 times, make any edits, and then we're going to get to the end. All right. Okay, boom, voila, bosh. You've just written a first draft of an ode poem. So if you've got to the end, well done, congratulations. If you've watched all 3 videos so far and you've written your narrative poem and your list poem and your ode poem, well done. The next video, you're going to pick one of those poems and then you're going to edit it, and then the final video is going to be about presenting that particular poem. All right, so I'm just going to read you what I've done, as I've done in the previous 2 videos. So this is my first draft of an ode to Millwall legend Neil Harris. It's around 2001. I'm in the South Upper next to my older brother, Nat. It's packed, shoulder to shoulder. Snap, the plastic seats all suddenly clap together back into their upright position as the crowd all come to their feet, excited at what they see. Neil Harris is now one-on-one with the Bury keeper, and with all the confidence of an all-time top scorer, He delicately chips the ball over the keeper's head into the net, and the crowd erupts into fever. That season, me and Nat watched Neil Harris smash 27 goals, the division's top scorer, firing Millwall to the top of the league and winning promotion, eventually getting the trophy. Neil Harris getting a hat-trick on the final day of the season. To that summer, reading the paper, sat on the train. A real slap in the face to read the news Neil Harris had cancer and had to step out the game. To the recovery, the comeback, to the breaking the club's all-time goal scoring record, cementing his status as a legend. And then coming back to manage the club and seeing us promoted above, yet again. To the day me and Nat got to meet the man and shake his hand. And he was polite, courteous and kind. An inspiration to me at 17 and the age I am now. What a legend, Neil Harris, the man. Alright, wicked. I've been Paul Cree. Thank you very much.